Yes, good evening. It's Friday, the 28th of January, a day late for the preview show, but a preview nonetheless, as we preview Blackpool's match against Fulham as a packed out away, and we'll hope to see the Seasiders bring 3 points or even one back to the coast. But we'll start with the usual introductions. Good evening, Joe. How you doing, mate?
Hello, yeah, I'm not too bad, thank you. Not too bad at all. Unfortunately, won't be there tomorrow as I hate London and I think it's an overpriced shithole. But every credit to the 1,800 that are either travelling down tonight or going down tomorrow. It's going to be a packed away end, like you said, and fingers crossed that we can keep Mitrovic and Co at bay. And yeah, every credit to the supporters that have sold out that away end. Fair play.
Yeah, it's a phenomenal effort, isn't it, Sean? I think taking 1,800, obviously it's a fair distance for most Blackpool fans to travel. Obviously, some are more local, but absolutely superb effort once again.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of my questions to Critchley, I kind of said as much because it is sort of, I feel like this season in particular, it's definitely week in, week out improved massively in terms of the numbers. And I think the away following is kind of mirroring the home following now in terms of the North Stand and things like that. So, yeah, it's amazing. It's just a nice weekend anyway, generally. There's nothing to lose. It's kind of a win-win either way, unless we lose about 8-0, but we'll get on to that.
Even if we did lose 8-0,
it's just fun. It
would just be Fulham taking the headlines as they have done. They've scored 6 past many a team, arguably better than Blackpool. So we can only go there and give credit to ourselves. And Neil Critchley said as much, didn't he? Which we'll come on to soon. Just start with saying good evening, David. Good evening, Giorgio. Good evening, Jordan. And good evening, Steve, who has a sneaky feeling we'll win. We'll come on to sort of the team news and somewhat a bit later on, but we'll start off with our favourite topic of Sean's, which is the transfer market, or should I say up to transfer deadline day. Since our last preview show, or since I was on the last preview show, we obviously spoke about Critchley won't miss his target, Sean, of getting Cameron Brannigan. I know you don't like hearing that name, and we said it's almost definitely not going to happen, that we'll miss out on him twice. It certainly has happened, and it doesn't look like that's going to happen anymore.
Yeah, I wouldn't like to say it definitely what happened just because I look like a tit, but if
you say that, we don't care if you look like a tit.
Yeah, well, exactly, yeah. But yeah, I think I was saying before the pod that I feel like we're kind of in a limbo of we're pretty much secure this season now. Kind of, if you've got more attainable targets for long-term strategy, you're probably going to be looking in the summer to get them. Whereas in January, it's not really the time to be doing that sort of business. The price tends to be a bit more. Teams are less inclined to get rid of players. I don't think the start of the month particularly helped us. I think if the situation had been normal and Premier League clubs were able to let their loan players go, then it might be a different situation, because obviously Wintle probably would have stayed. Similarly, with bringing in a reinforcement for Wintle, we probably would have had a better market to shop in. So I think there are sort of caveats to why we were kind of forced to go down the Brannigan route, where I would presume we probably wanted to do that in the summer. But yeah, obviously we've got the Norburn stuff today and stuff. It's just not the greatest look when you kind of constantly. I think we're quite unfortunate that every player that we want is with a club that are quite outspoken in the way they do the transfer business, whereas we're quite behind closed doors and just like to do our thing. Whereas I think Oxford's quite, obviously Carl Robinson's quite outspoken, Darren McAnthony's quite outspoken. It doesn't help. It makes it look worse than it probably is. But yeah, I don't really know what to make of it, to be honest. But I mean, if your manager's consistently saying that he wants a central midfielder from the start of the window, if that doesn't happen, I'm sure it will at some stage. But if it doesn't happen, then it's not the greatest look.
No, but we'll come on to sort of what we need just after we discuss our actual signing that we made the other day. Joe, not really excited you too much, but one I quite like. But Charlie Kirk joined from Charlton, obviously not settled at Charlton. A lot of players go, why are we signing League One players, etc. But ultimately not fitted the system from previous managers, and he's had a family bereavement, and he had a big future obviously at Crewe. Not settled in London, likes it as much as you from what I understand, but is come back up north, and hopefully he can settle and show what it's all about.
Yeah, to be fair, I remember Charlie Kirk's performances against Blackpool, and he was definitely one of the few players that stuck out in mind. I thought, yeah, he looked half decent. He fits the criteria of him, one, being young, and two, somebody Critchley knew when they were 7 years old. So, yeah, he definitely ticks all the boxes there. Listen, I know I've been slightly critical about this window.
Slightly.
Slightly. Like Sean says, it's a very unusual window, whereas normally a club like ourselves would be trying to get in them youngsters from the Premier League. Simply that hasn't been happening with COVID. You've had a few clubs in the Premier League even recalling players that haven't really got a sniff of playing just to bolster numbers. It's been a very unusual window in that respect. Am I a little bit disappointed about the window? Yes. Am I a bit annoyed that we seem to be fanning about old school style like we did under the Oystons with low ball bids for players that our manager clearly wants? Yes. Will it resolve itself one way or the other? Yes. We've still got a few more days to go. Unlike Sean, I actually think we will get Brannigan. I know that I'll probably make a right idiot of myself saying that live on air now.
What makes you say that?
I've just got a sneaky feeling.
The Jordan Gabriel factor. That's what it is.
Yeah, exactly.
Brannigan's going to appear in a box on deadline day.
Yeah, waving. No, we pissed about with Gabriel, and we eventually made the asking price. And I think it's us just playing the waiting game and try to lowball, and eventually we'll pay the going rate and get our man. Whether it be in this window or the next window, time will tell. But I do think eventually we'll become a Blackpool player.
Yeah, I think the thing with Brannigan is just whether or not this thing about the release clause expiring is a thing or not. Because as far as the Oxford Mail are concerned, they're pretty sure that it is, but no one's actually confirmed it. So if that's the case, then obviously I think it's probably dead in the water. But if that's still active, then there's obviously up until 11 p.m. on deadline day, we could trigger it at any point we wanted to. So it's up to us, really.
I think, in my opinion, if it was still there, then we would have triggered it. I think we'd have stopped playing silly buggers by now. But on to more positive sort of stats, that Charlie Kirk, 24 goals, 30 assists across 3 seasons for a very struggling Crew side, yo-yoing between sort of League 2 and League 1. Shows obviously terrific potential. Is always that one player in a team which obviously shines, and there's a reason he moved to Charlton, who were looking for promotion with Nigel Atkins at the time. Sean, promising, potentially, obviously, we've just said not potentially the position we need, but losing Mitchell is vital. We added to the quality of the team. Yeah,
I think we've upgraded on Mitchell personally. I think that Charlie Kirk, I think if he had come straight from Crewe in the summer, after the 3 seasons that he's had, I think people will be a lot more excited about this signing than they are at the moment. And I think, obviously, as you've discussed, there's a lot of factors as to why it didn't quite work at Charlton. And I think he's now got a clean slate, and he's probably under the best coach he could be under in terms of reinvigorating himself after a bit of a setback. I really like Charlie Kirk. I think he's a really good player. From watching him, and from listening to Critchley speak about him, and just generally in terms of the reports that have been given, his final end product seems to be a consistent thing. And simply, he's a winger that will cut inside and get a shot off, or get a shot off into a dangerous area, or he can take it on the wing himself and put a good ball into the box. And ultimately, I'm kind of more the boring side of the game at this point in time, in terms of, look, if you're not the flashiest guy, but you can whip a good ball into the box and put the ball into dangerous areas to create chances consistently, then that's exactly what we're missing at the moment. I think you need that player to rely on. Keshi, obviously, out at the moment. He's kind of that guy that can do that. So if Kirk can come in and add that extra creativity aspect, then that's great. And again, goals from a different area of the pitch, which is important because that's something we lack. I think we saw Hartlepool was the real sort of showcase of when your strikers aren't on it, there aren't really players in the team that can dig something out of nothing. So I'm really excited to see Charlie Kirk play, to be honest. And I think it's going to turn out to be a very, very good piece of business.
Yeah, for me, it's almost risk-free. At the end of the day, we can see what he's like, see where his fitness is at, and it's probably likely that we're going to sign him. I'm glad you said sort of get the balls into the box, and I say this with a complete straight face, but we almost missed that player like Liam Feeney used to be. I know it was in League One, but we haven't got that we're just not creating chances in a sense of scoring a lot of goals. And we're winning games 1-0, which is a repeat of last season where you're coming through games. We've been the odd game like Peterborough 3-1, ironically the same score this season. And John's just said Kirk could cross and makes late runs into the box. Like Clarkson used to, scores a lot of goals, wide midfielder, can be outstanding. I think he will adapt, because for me, League One can be, and it sounds really ridiculous, but can be more really. Sorry, let me start again. League One can be more difficult for a player than the Championship, because sometimes in the Championship you get a little bit more time on the ball, and teams potentially will take Blackpool a bit less seriously, whereas in League One we're obviously quite well known. I'm not expecting teams like Blackpool to come there and play the football that we want to play. So I think it's an outstanding bit of business. Steve's obviously alluded to the fact that one massive positive of this transfer market that we're clearing out the likes of Howe, Sarkic, and obviously hopefully Nuttall will go as well. And for me, that literally gives us a Championship-ready base squad, Joe, that we're not looking at the likes of them sitting in the squad without sort of a club or a place in our squad as well. On paper, by the end of sort of middle of next season, start of next season, we should have a really well-established Championship side that can finish mid-table and beyond.
Yeah, excuse me. Yeah, it's definitely good from the perspective of clearing out the dead wood, freeing up a bit of money for wages. And like you say, next year we're going into the season with that base squad of players that are Championship ready. There's no names that are just basically stealing a wage, to put it basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're in a much stronger position than we were at the start of the season, squad-wise. As much as, look, I know that I've done a fair bit of moaning about this transfer window. I'm not an idiot. I didn't expect us to be spending 3 or 4 million on singular players. That's not the Blackpool way of doing things. It's just frustrating when there's a player out there that the manager really, really wants, that he's been after for a long time, that by all accounts, it's a fair transfer price, but it isn't like ridiculous in terms of the Championship. I hope that he does get his man eventually. And I still think if it isn't this window, we'll get him in the summer.
Yeah, certainly. Sean, your thoughts? Obviously, not really much to add to that, but it's good to see those players leave the club and actually working his way through sort of the team.
Yeah, it just stops having, like, at the end of the day, you've got a squad there on the training ground then that are all knowing that they're potentially part of the squad come match day. I think that's important. If you've got players that know that they're not going to be there, it kind of, I imagine morale-wise, that can be quite draining, having to manage those different aspects of stuff like that. So that's a positive. And obviously, we've got Ethan Robson come back, Jordan Thornley come back as well into the squad. And obviously, sort of Ethan Robson, whether he'll be in the squad will be interesting to see. I can't see how he couldn't be. But obviously, I thought that with Millwall, and that wasn't the case because obviously Critchley kind of said that Stewart wasn't really fully fit to play against Millwall, and yet he was
fit enough to go to Jamaica, though, isn't he?
Yeah, well, the Robson thing was strange to me. The fact that when he said that Stewart wasn't fully fit and then Robson wasn't in the squad at all, that did kind of set alarm bells ringing on that regard. But yeah, we'll have to see. It's like Joe said, we've definitely improved the squad generally, and I'm quite excited for the summer really now in terms of just. I think we know then that'll be the next yardstick of transfer business for us.
Yeah, just moving on to outgoings. Obviously, Gretterson left. Sad for me, really, but I completely understand it. Obviously, wants game time, and I think is a real talent in the team. But every week he wasn't playing. Every week we needed a centre back in, and we were playing husband there. There was not something right for me there, and I personally think he would have done a really good job in the Championship, but wasn't meant to be, Sean. And obviously, he moves on to pastures new, and he a chance for him to revitalise his international career.
Yeah, I think that's the main part, is that obviously he wanted to keep his international career going, and he's had his chance in English football that he always wanted, and he always put in 100%. And as you say, I liked him. Obviously, that partnership he had with Epiteta in League One, I really enjoyed watching at that point. And you thought, to be honest, if either of them hadn't been injured, it's kind of a case of similar with Mitchell, really. It's unfortunate injury timings, and suddenly you're out the team. Happened again with Robson. after his displays, it can happen where you lose your place, and then the consistent performers then, once you've lost your place, are there, and I'm never gonna say that he should be in ahead of Richard Keogh or Marvin Epiteta. So you couldn't promise him what he wanted. He's an ambitious lad, and he's gonna get the game time that he deserves.
Yeah, absolutely. Moving on to tomorrow's opponents. Here's a very simple stat, Joe. Mitrovic, 27 goals this season. Blackpool, 28 goals this season. Just shows you not only the quality of the £22 million striker can bring to the Championship, but it just shows you the vast difference in as we're talking about sort of transfer fees, wages, how much they're willing to spend. Obviously, they've got different objectives to us this season, but it's such a vast disparity in this league between how much clubs are going to spend and what we're trying to achieve. Didn't score against us last time, of course, but he's been quality for them this season, hasn't he? Oh, he's not talk. Can you hear him, Sean?
Now he's muted.
Can you hear me now?
Okay.
Yes. Sorry, I'll ask you the question. Mitrovic has been key for Fulham this season. Obviously, quite an obvious player to pick out, but 27 goals versus Blackpool's 28 is quite scary, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, Fulham are one of these teams that they're too good for the Championship and they're not good enough for the Premier League. And there's you could probably say 5 or 6 teams that are like that. Mitrovic certainly fits that role. He's like a cheat code in this division. Saying that, how much did you say he's worth? 22 million. That's probably more than our match day squad. In fact, it's probably more than our entire 25-man squad. So
it's definitely more than a Premier League squad was.
Yeah, exactly. It just shows you the disparity of the haves and the have-nots in this division, which isn't helped by teams like Fulham being showed on Sky regularly, who already have parachute payments, and us just being on once. But that's another argument for another time. Yeah, they're a good team. They're a great team. They're going to end up getting promoted. But I don't think that tomorrow's just a write-off. I don't think that you can go... At the end of the day, these lost to Reading at home. Do you know what I mean? So if Reading can go there and win, why the hell can't we? Reading is shit, with respect. They're absolutely awful. So why can't we go there? We beat them earlier in the season, and I think we're a much more improved team to them. So why can't we go there and win?
It's certainly a possibility. Just talking about general form then, as you said, you'd recently sort of lost at home. We'll come on to how many goals they scored for the season in minutes, Sean, but their last 6 at home for Fulham sees them win 3 games, 2 draws and 1 defeat. That would indicate Blackpool obviously still have a chance against them. Obviously, Blackpool's last 6 away games has only seen 2 wins, but 3 defeats and 1 draw. Luckily or not, Sean, obviously... Oh, Sean's gone. Okay. Luckily or not, Joe, apologies for the audio pod. Sean has just logged off. But luckily or not, Blackpool have shown in the past that we can come up against teams like Sheffield United when they're in decent form, and Swansea, obviously one of the best footballing sides in the league. And we can go there and cause an upset of some respects, whether that be a draw, which will be a great result tomorrow. But we should have no fear going there because, as you say, the home form at the moment for Fulham isn't like they've won 6 in a row. They've had a couple of draws and a defeat in there. Although scoring freely, they do offer chances to the other team as well.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I know it sounds stupid to say. I'd be much more worried if we're playing Shrewsbury Town away tomorrow because we never win there. I mean, all right, I know it's been a fair while since we've got a result down at Fulham, but I mean, it's 11 versus 11. We're not playing Real Madrid or prime Barcelona. It's Fulham. Do you know what I mean?
You're pulling out all the cliches.
I don't care. It's 11 v 11. Why can't we go there?
I'm going to rename it.
It's just the thing, though. It's not. Yeah, the thing for me is that it's not whether it's 11 versus. It's that I think we've got a better coach. I think that our best football comes when we're working off the ball against a team that we think is the best in the league or one of the best in the league. That's where we thrive on the counter-attack. So playing a team like Fulham, I think, plays into the way we want to play football more than playing the lower half of the table. So I think that if you're asking for an upset, then I think even if we do end up losing, I think there'll be a very, very good performance from us, probably the best we'll put out, because we always do turn up on days like this at the moment. And I just think that our plans off the ball are one of the best in the Championship. Whether we can execute them is a different ball game, but I think in terms of the actual structure and shape of the way we want to play games like this, I think we're perfect. So if anything, at least you know that you've got that behind you to start with.
Sean, we were talking previously, or looking at the document, 73 goals for Fulham this season, 27 for Mitrovic, but you've got to take into consideration taking them goals out, 43 goals from elsewhere, with obviously the likes of Wilson, who has 18 goal contributions this season. They've got Robinson at the back, who's they've contributed 6 goals. You were talking about obviously outperforming their XG, and we have to bring the stats in, but outperforming their XG in terms of how many goals they're scoring versus chances created.
Yeah, so obviously, I think it's kind of natural that you score that amount of goals, you probably aren't creating that amount of chances, and that eventually that kind of run's going to stop. But obviously, if there's any team in the league that's going to continue to outperform in terms of goals scored compared to chances created, it's going to be a team with the quality of Fulham. So I'm taking some form of positive out of the fact that obviously they aren't actually creating that many chances. They're just being completely clinical to an unsustainable level at the moment. And if we can defend our box well, which I think we've done very well against the likes of West Brom this season, we're quite good at our last-ditch tackles, or because you're going to have one or two of those moments where you're going to need that. And if we're able to keep that up consistently, but also not allow consistent pressure on our box, continuing to press high, being brave on the ball, but being brave in terms of sitting high, having a high line so that Mitrovic can't simply just sit on our centre halves in our own half for the whole game. He needs to be high up the pitch. If you remember, obviously, we're kind of after the game, that was when we were really talking about how good Richard Keogh and Marvin Epiteta's partnership is, and how they work off each other, and how Epiteta will sit in back and Richard Keogh will be aggressive and come out and win the headers. And that's how we beat Mitrovic last time. So if we can do a similar sort of thing, then I don't see why we don't have a chance in this game.
Yeah, and I just wanted to add to the point that they've scored goals all over the pitch, granted with, tens of £1 million, potentially up to £100 million being spent on their team over the last few years. Joe, for me, Blackpool seriously suffer from adding goals from all areas of the pitch. Other than sort of the quality and sort of injuries and stuff this season, what do you think contributes to that? Do you think Critchley's because we do play expansive football, but we just don't add goals from around the pitch. So what are your thoughts?
I think our main issue is our weakness on set pieces, both in terms of taking them and defending them. I think that we concede a lot of goals from either free kicks or corners, and we simply don't score enough from them either. Like you say, set pieces in a close game can be the difference between a win and a draw, or a draw or a loss. We used to, back in the day when I started watching, whenever we got a corner, you guaranteed it's a goal. David Ayres whips it in, Dave Bamber gets his head on it. Every single game, you knew that was going to happen. Now when we get a corner, it's like, right, nice one. I think we've scored off 2 corners this season.
Tap it short, go back to the halfway line.
Yeah, exactly. Play it back to your back four.
Maybe we don't do set pieces anymore and do well in set pieces, because when we do score from a set piece, we put the ball over the line and the linesman doesn't give it. Perhaps that's part of the tactic now.
That is a very good point. But yeah, I think just I can't remember the last time we scored directly from a free kick. Anybody? No?
John Joe Shelby.
We scored a set piece, a couple of set pieces this season. I think the last one I can remember was Swansea, wasn't it? Maybe Swansea. I don't remember any after that.
There you go. There's your answer, innit? We're all scratching our heads trying to think when was the last time we scored a free kick and when was the last time we scored off a corner. Set pieces are absolutely vital.
Lavery had a good chance against Hull, didn't he? But I think he thought he was standing centre of the goal because he missed from about 3 yards out. Kind of slapped his head, didn't it, against Hull? But Sean, what do you think contributes to Blackpool sort of? Well, like I said, it's only 28 goals this season, and regardless of his quality, one player's outscoring a whole team. And I know that's Critchley's kind of way, but no doubt our football suggests we should be scoring more or creating at least more chances.
Yeah, I think it kind of doesn't help to some extent that we've kind of got half a squad built for 4-2-3-1 and then half a squad built for 4-4-2. And I think obviously that allows us to be adaptable, but at the same time, you've kind of got wingers that are going to narrow their play. And then if you've not got overloads in the wide areas coming from fullback all the time, then you're struggling to then overload an attacking sense. And I think that we're kind of a bit imbalanced at the moment from left to right. Obviously, we're a lot stronger on the right-hand side when it comes to attacking. And CJ Hamilton, obviously, in the second half against Millwall, started to show that. I can't see Sterling being someone who will continue to overlap at fullback. Obviously, Charlie Kirk's best football came when he had an overlapping fullback beside him with Pickering at Crewe, so that's another option there. I think if you've got a fully fit squad, it's not too bad, but I think at the moment, we hopefully bringing in Kirk will provide that balance more. But I think that we are a little bit imbalanced when it comes to our attacking play, and that obviously means that Bowler can get crowded out sometimes quite easily. And then you kind of we're trying to play a little bits of interplay in a very crowded area space, sort of on the edge of the box, and it's a lot harder to do when you kind of play in from one side a lot more than you are from the other. So I think that's a factor, but I think perhaps I would be interested to see what we'd do if we did just play out and out wingers for one game in a 4-4-2. It would be interesting to see.
And Keshi's adapted to that role magnificently well, hasn't he? I think when we initially had him there, we were like, what's he doing? He's perfect number 10. But actually, I've never seen, and I'm not being biased, I haven't seen a left midfielder, left winger in a 4-4-2 dictate a game as much as he did when he's not been centre of the pitch. He sort of dragged the defence up, dragged the strikers to in position, and it's just been such a big miss for us. And we saw that in the first half against Millwall, didn't we? And to be fair, just coming on to the team news now anyway, that the return of CJ after his Hartlepool chaotic display, and he shouldn't play for Blackpool shirt again, and we didn't know when he was going to get game time. We all said it. We all said he's not, he's a decent footballer, but not in the Championship. First half, obviously not getting much of the ball, a few passes here and there. Second half, he started to get that little bit of confidence back, Joe, that we saw in League One. And, he does sprint a lot with the ball, but the 1-2 off players in and around him is going to create space in behind. And with a little bit of work with his finish, and not saying he should have scored that chance against Millwall because the keeper came out very well, he's going to be an important player for us.
Yeah, definitely now with the injuries mounting up to that area of the pitch. It's, I'll be the first to admit I slagged him to high heaven after the performance against Hartlepool. He was one of several players who, at the time, I never want to see him in a Blackpool shirt again, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, fair play, made me eat my words against Millwall, especially in the second half. I thought he had a real impact on the game. Maybe he's one of them players that's a confidence player, because he tried a lot of things that didn't quite come off in the first half and kept his head up, kept going. Second half looked a lot better. He's got one thing that worries defenders, and that's raw pace. So, once he gets the ball to feet and running with the ball, he's definitely an asset to have. It's always been the question with CJ is the end product, be it his shooting ability, his ability to get a ball into the box. And hopefully that'll improve in the next 19 games or so.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've just got to interrupt this podcast by bringing you a fan, George. I don't know if you know him, but he loves you.
Checks in the post.
Just throwing me right off. Just coming back to Fulham before we go more into the team news, Sean. It's at top of the table. Obviously, in the last 10, they've recorded 19 points from the last 30, scoring 29 goals. Scoring 29 goals in those 10 games, which is some feat. We've only just got 11 points and only scoring 9 goals. Do we need a repeat of the game at Bloomfield Road, where I personally think we were 70% really good, but 30% that wasn't the Fulham that we were potentially expecting? Do we need a repeat of that game, or do you think we win this game in a different way?
I think the off the ball elements, you think you've got to take a lot of heart from, and that's obviously going to be the way that we go in this. He said he's not going to be naive and think that we're going to control possession. You've got to bide your time, and I think it's about conserving the energy and being able to be on it in terms of the press. Obviously, Tyrese John Jules had an excellent game in that game, and so it shows that anyone can perform if they listen to the instructions. Positional sense, concentration, these are all elements that anyone can really do if you're just a good athlete first and foremost, and you listen to what's being instructed of you. Then you're halfway there. Then obviously it's about having the technical ability to do something when you get the moments, when you get those counter attacks, because they do give up chances. It's not like they're the tightest defense in the world. They have given up chances. Obviously Stoke scored twice. They're able to dismantle an organised side. Yeah, well, there you go. They're able to dismantle an organised side, but at the same time, they are vulnerable themselves at times. And I think that when you're looking at counter-attacking play, I don't think that you could ask for better than just the pure pace that we've got in the team, especially out wide. And it's just about being clinical. That's the worry. Obviously, it always has been the worry with us at times. We have been a little bit wasteful of chances, but I think recently it's picked up a bit. And hopefully that can continue here, because you get that one chance, you score it, then you're right in the game. I'm thinking Jerry Yates at Portsmouth last season, that was the prime example of that moment. And if you can get a moment like that, then there's no reason why you can't. But I do worry for us on set pieces. I worry for defensively. I worry on the fact of just as much as we have got good athletes and good engines in our team, we've got a tight squad at the moment. You haven't got as much depth to bring on and have that replacement that's as good a performer or consistently can get to that level of performance than we have in the past. Obviously, say we had Charlie Kirk in, but Keshi Anderson was starting. You bring Charlie Kirk in, you've still got a quality player there. I mean, you take these players off, then you're lacking in options that are able to come into a game and impact it. So that's my worry, I think, is just maintaining that over the 90 minutes, because it's easy to do it in spells, but can you keep that up for the full game?
Okay. We mentioned earlier centre midfield being a big problem. We'll come straight to the elephant in the room. Stewart, not played all season hardly. Actually did play against Fulham in the last game. Him and Winter, wasn't it?
Yes, yeah. Because at that stage, after that game, we didn't think Dougal would get back in the side if they consistently played.
Yeah, well, that's the problem: consistency and Kevin Stewart. So, your thoughts first, Sean, on the Stewart situation? Obviously, I'm torn. I think, out of respect, potentially players should play for us, but at the same time, chance to play internationally. But I don't really know what to think of the situation personally. It's one of those difficult ones. But what's your thoughts?
Yeah, well, obviously, the issue is that Jamaica didn't communicate it really well. Critchley was seething, to put it mildly, about the way that it's been handled. Obviously, saying that Stewart isn't fully fit, it's not really the ideal time to take him away, especially with our situation. But in terms of international call-ups, once you are called up, if you reject that call-up and don't play in that squad when you have been called up and said you're available, then first of all, he's probably never going to be able to play for Jamaica again. And second of all, he can't play in the game against Fulham. That's how it works. If you're called up in the official squad, then you can't play, as it has to be injury reasons or fitness reasons. Yeah. So essentially, if it's a qualifier in the tournament, FIFA regulations are that you can't play if you've been called up to the official squad. The issue is that had Jamaica communicated to us earlier, and if Stewart had communicated to us earlier that this was the intention, then we would have obviously put the plans in place, spoken to Jamaica and said, look, we really need this guy. Look, we'll do you a favour and further down the line or what have you. But the fact is, it's kind of come out the blue. I think the club were just as surprised as everyone else. And he kind of said, when he was confirming it, it was kind of like, yeah, well, I think he's flown off. Like he wasn't even 100% sure himself that he'd gone to Jamaican international duty. So I think it's just the manner in which it's happened. But yeah, it's communication more than anything else. And I think that it's unnecessary because it should never have got to this stage. But it is once it has happened, I don't particularly blame Stewart for going, because say it was Scotland and I got called up for Scotland, I'm off to Scotland, mate. If it's his international team, he has a lot of pride in that. Then you can't jeopardise your international career over the sake of Fulham away.
No, I do totally get that. But like you say, it's one of those ones where, like, if they communicated, we'd probably discussed it with them, and he might be in a tangerine shirt tomorrow. But that poses a question to you, Joe. Do you think he starts tomorrow if he was sort of ready for the match day squad, or do you think someone like Robson or Connolly is going to start ahead of him anyway?
If my auntie had testicles, she'd be my uncle. Don't really matter, does it? He's not here, so irrelevant.
Do you think he would have started, though? That's the question.
I'm past caring about Kevin Stewart.
Fair enough.
I don't think he would have started.
Yeah, that's my point as well.
I think Connolly will start, and I think even if, as much as I probably play Robson, Connolly will probably start there. I think so. Obviously, Stewart didn't play for Jamaica either, which doesn't help matters. But there's 2 more games left, I guess. But yeah, I think it's obviously communication wise, but yeah, I don't know what to make of it. I really like Kevin Stewart as a player, but it's just
it is been enough, in my opinion. I think, ironically, he's phenomenal when he plays. He just doesn't play, and he's on a bigger wage than most.
Genuinely can't remember the last time he played for us. He's somebody I'd be moving on in the summer.
It is Fulham, isn't it? Was it not?
Really? There you go.
Did he play against Middlesbrough?
He's played 3 times.
He plays in Middlesbrough away. Must have been the last game.
Middlesbrough away, yeah.
I'd rather have a solid and reliable player instead of a really good player that plays 3 times. I'm sorry, he might be.
It depends what games he's available for. To be fair,
he might be a good player, but what's the point if he's only playing 3 games?
Well, exactly, yeah.
I think that's it, Joe, isn't it? I think the games he has played, Middlesbrough and Fulham, with Wintle, I think he played with Dougal potentially at Borough, but we've actually looked our best when he plays. But like you say, it's literally pointless when he plays 5 times a season, and he's
How
just
long's left on his contract?
He just signed a 2-year contract. That's the problem as well, isn't it?
Wicked. Maybe we'll get 7 games out of him before he leaves.
Moving on. So obviously injury concerns. We'll come on to guess the team in a second, but obviously Reece James is still a couple of weeks away. Sean Virtue, although in Tangerine TV said he's not far off, and not far off was Gary Medine for about 3 months last season.
Not far off, like the announcement at the training ground that was supposed to be in October.
Joe fucking.
You're right.
Joe hates the football club tonight. No,
Garbutt obviously is a fresh injury, 10 weeks out. It's not great considering positions where we need players, both centre midfielder and left back. We'll come on to talk about our teams in a second, and hopefully we can agree on something tonight. For me, I can't really put into words how much I love Jordan Gabriel, because when he came on against Millwall, he was just out of this world. I think he's absolutely phenomenal. He's energetic. He's absolutely superb. He's a great attacker down the wing. How he's just slotted in against Millwall was superb. But I was actually more impressed also with Sterling's positional sort of sense. I get it, it's still a fullback, but at the same time, he came in against Millwall and had absolutely no problems. Does he put himself into the starting lineup at left back potentially come tomorrow?
Is that's Sterling at left back? Yeah. I think it would be the best way forward. I think that it's not the game for me to throw someone in there that's probably not played consistently for us. I mean, I wouldn't be putting Jordan Thornley at left back. I wouldn't be putting Jordan Thornley in the team probably 6 months ago, but I think he has improved a lot now. From all reports and from watching him a few times at Oxford, he does look a bit more assured as a defender. So obviously I had quite a lot of question marks over him. But yeah, I think Sterling, Gabriel is your best chance. Sterling's an excellent one-on-one defender. Like he's a really good, high-quality player. And obviously I was critical of him at Hartlepool, but as I said after that, I didn't think that was it. I didn't think he was suddenly a crap player. I think consistently he's shown he's a very good player, and right back is our strongest position. When in the start of the season it was our weakest, it's now our strongest, and I think Gabriel gives you that extra bit going forward, as we've continued to say, and that'll be important again in getting the ball out wide into the channels and getting on the counter-attack with pure pace. But I think Sterling has a really important job to do at left back, and then obviously he'll probably need to do that for another couple of weeks at least, because I think Reece James is the closest back. I think he's probably a couple of weeks. Then it's husband, then it's Garbett in terms of priority for when people will be back. And with midfield, it will probably be Virtue and then Ward, but Virtue's still a fair bit away. I know they keep showing the progress things, but I think they're both a fair bit away yet. And then they're deciding with Sonny Carey whether to operate or not. But again, he'll be a fair way away. So it will be interesting to see.
We won't see Carey, Ward, or Virtue this season, will we?
I think that's the thing. It's they're in a difficult place because there's a couple of middling injuries where you're like, do we put them in the 25-man squad or do we not? Because it's hard to juggle that around really at this point. I think
the best thing to do with Carey, certainly in my opinion, is to ensure he's ready for next season, because get a loan in to maybe replace him, but there's not someone you want to rush back and then cause another injury, because he's going to be, as you know, I'm a big fan of him. To come from, like I said, I'll repeat it 100 times, to come from Kings Lynn to play like he has been in the Championship, like what's it, 2 assists and a goal already. It's how he's putting more goal contributions towards some of our established players in the squad. So he's certainly going to be a player that's going to be worth a lot of money for us in the future, as well as being an asset on the pitch. So I don't think we'll see him again personally, but in this season.
How long is Anderson out for? Roughly.
They don't. Rough, because they don't like putting things on until recovery. But you'd probably say at least 2 months.
So is there a chance he could be back for Preston, basically?
Yeah, but I think they'll probably learn their lesson from Maxwell and not rush people back. So I don't know. But yeah, it's fine. Charlie Kirk will be your favourite man by then. That's my prediction. So. That's my prediction.
That's it. You cursed him.
Yeah.
Injured on the 17th minute tomorrow.
Yeah, no. He's just next to Owen Dale. What does that mean for Owen Dale? I thought let's put that out.
I was literally going to talk about this. Where does Kirk come tomorrow? Because he's seriously lacking in fitness and potentially maybe in the squad, but he's obviously not going to be, in my opinion, obviously thrown in to start. Dale comes on against Millwall, obviously played reasonably well, but a lot of people, not say a lot of people, but a lot of opinions on Twitter that Dale isn't anything special. He's hardly done anything, has he? He had a niggling foot injury. He wasn't settled at the club because he didn't know where he was coming or going. He's had a superb debut, and I don't think Richie's going to throw him out of the water just because Kirk signed. Do you think he could potentially use Kirk in more of an attacking midfielder role like he did with Keshi or Carey? Because he can play there. I know he's an out-and-out winger, but he has played there in the past. So, or Dale in that position potentially, or do you think they're just going to have to rotate? Because we've got Hamilton as well, obviously.
Yeah, I think Dale probably will be the most natural out of the three to play the attacking midfield role, probably. But I think, it's just it obviously it's just hard to judge. This is another one where I think both Kirk, I think practically all of our wingers would probably suit a 4-2-3-1 more, but the team as a whole in terms of balance doesn't work as well at the moment in that formation. So it is a strange one because it's like I was saying before, what maybe playing out and out wingers would prove more of a creative outlet at that point, and then you just play whatever their best foot is. You play them on the wing that their best foot is. But I don't know I really don't know what to make of it, to be honest. I think I'm still not convinced that CJ will be a consistent player for us yet. Obviously, there's a fair bit to go of convincing, but he's made a good start to kickstart that. So as long as players like CJ keep taking their chances, then the chances for Dale to actually make an impact are going to be very minimal.
Yeah, for me, it was a bit of we're at home to Millwall. It should be quite an equal game. They play a different game to us, of course. So he said to Hamilton, go and improve on what you did at Hartlepool amongst 6 or 7 other players and show me what you can actually do. And like you said, I think in the second half, he stepped up reasonably well. Maybe not to start every game when players are back to full fitness, but it's certainly a good weapon to have on the bench at least. We'll come on to the team lineup in a second. Just a quick brief overview of the history between the two clubs. So Fulham have won 37 games and we've drawn 32, but Blackpool have the slight advantage with 41 wins. Obviously, history doesn't really count for much, but it's a reasonable record against a good Fulham side. And last time we met, obviously, was the Josh Polar getting the vital goal on the rare occasion of Fulham not scoring in a very decent win for the Seasiders. So hopefully we can repeat that tomorrow. Start getting your score predictions in the chat, guys, and we're going to talk about our lineup now. Let me just share my screen. That is the one. We're currently. Can everyone see that? Okay.
No.
No.
No. Oh, hold on.
There we go.
Hey.
Formation tomorrow, Joe. Start with you for 4-4-2, or do you think we'll go 4-2-3-1?
I would go 4-2-3-1.
Sure.
Wow. I think he might change system because he kind of hinted at it. But I think if he changes system, I feel like he's going to go to a back three for some reason.
Really?
I don't know now.
Back three? Who are we going to play? Thornley?
Fucking don't know, mate. Who cares?
Not Gretterson. Maybe Connolly in his preferred position.
I don't know now.
Richard raised a good point early. Richard in the chat raised a good point earlier, and I thought, would we ever consider a 4-3-3 because it kind of like out and out winger suits our team?
I would like us to play 4-3-3 forever. Yeah. So fuck it, let's go 4-3-3. I love how there's a comment there like, "Oh, I'm really impressed with your knowledge and insight, Sean," or whatever, and then I've just completely just fucked it and just not. I was like, "Oh, I don't know what to do. I don't really know."
We play the guys.
I don't know, to be honest. Yeah, do you know what? Yeah, 4-3-3.
Should we just? We're never going to get it right anyway. So should we?
Yeah,
should
exactly.
we go?
Let's just go 4-3-3.
Let's do it. Is that?
That's defensive. Okay. Way too defensive. Disgraceful.
Hold on. Is there a other 4-3-3?
There you go.
No, it's the same.
Can you not drag the players?
Well, we could do custom. We could be here all day. Jesus. Right.
That.
No, here we go.
Fucking hell.
Where are we going with this? I don't know what I'm doing. We'll just do that.
Can't wait for this to go on social media.
Oh yeah, shit. I don't know.
That'll do. Fantastic. Right. Goalkeeper.
Ding dang do. Right. Goalie. There's only one name.
Yep, Charlie Monks.
I'll tell you what. I don't think
of fire for the lad.
the save. I don't know if it was just me because I haven't watched the game fully back yet. But how good was that save against Millwall?
The one in the right, the opposite side, and like bent it out. It was amazing.
In the south,
amazing.
Yeah, curled it sort of round.
It wasn't just the save; it was pushing it out as well.
Yeah, that's my point. He gets down really quickly, and then it just deters it away from any.
His reach is mental. Like some of the stuff that he gets to is ridiculous.
I have a feeling he might be busy tomorrow.
No, he won't be. He won't be
because we've got Richard Keys.
The wall.
Absolutely. I've done an absolute madness and not taken off this advertisement. So sorry for those that are watching at the moment. I'm not going to edit it out. Left back.
Sterling.
Yeah, it's got to be on it.
Yeah.
Who else?
Well, I don't want to play there now. So when you've got the quality of Sterling versus Thornley coming back in a championship match, it's got to be Sterling for me. He's used to the team and used to the back line or what's left of it. I take it we know our centre back.
There's a shout for Thornley there in the comments.
No.
Okay. Joe's spoken and he's the manager of this podcast when John's not here. So
yeah.
2 centre backs.
Nobody pays attention to me. Not even my bloody wife pays attention to what I've got to say.
Keogh.
Yeah, it's got to be Keogh and Epter, isn't it?
Yeah. This.
Oh. You gone?
Try that again. You broke up.
All right. Okay. I said that was the best performance them two had all season. Was the home game against Fulham.
Yeah.
Could we see the return of our favourite Sean at right back? I take it.
Our prodigal son. Yeah, it's about time that Ollie Turton got some game time. To be honest,
he's still not getting game time.
No, what a surprise, eh?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, he's better than Gabriel, isn't he, Sean? So
yes, he is definitely 100%. Get him in, big game player.
All right, this is really weird because six is left wing. I've just got.
Mitch is going to have a paralytic fit when he sees this.
My problem is with this formation, which we might have to change in a minute. Can we
just go 4-4-2 before we get bullied online, please?
Yeah, absolutely. I can't be up to my phone.
Well,
who are we going to play in midfield?
Yeah, no, we're fine. 4-4-2, we're fine. Go 4-4-2.
Hold on.
Because I'm just thinking then you can't put Medina up by himself.
I can't change it. Hold on, I've customised it.
Custom, yeah.
Oh, don't tell me. Oh, no, it's fine. We're good. Right. Who's at number 6 on the wing?
Yeah, so who would we pick? I would throw Charlie Kirk straight in, but that's not going to happen.
No
but
way.
I would put Kirk in because as much as you say it's match fitness, isn't it? And like he's still fit, he's still in training, and I would pick Kirk from the start. I think he's class. I think that you need that creative spark. So what better way to get him?
You're throwing Kirk in over Dale immediately and CJ after the game you just said.
But yeah, but he had a good half. I get it, and obviously he's going to put CJ in, and that will end up inevitably being the right decision. But I would throw Kirk in if I was in that position because I think that he'll inevitably be the best actual out and out left winger at the club come the end of the season.
Joe, your opinion?
Well, I would have played 4-2-3-1, so it doesn't really matter.
So you would have had a left winger.
Yeah, you still need a left.
I would have had your
left cam.
The 4 as it is. Probably Dougal and Robson in the middle. Then I would have. Are you ready for this, Sean? Are you sitting down?
He's just put Dale.
Dale as the number 10. Laverley and Yates as your wide forwards, and Big Gaz up front on his own.
Well,
just risk all 3 strikers.
Yeah, why not? You've got Beasley on the bench if one of them gets injured.
Let me tell. Are we going 4-4-2 first and foremost?
Yes, 4-4-2.
Yeah.
4-4-2.
Right, who's playing left? Are we going right? Kirk or Dale?
CJ. Right, no. But when I'm being serious, it's got CJ. I think because the confidence. It's just you've got to make the most of CJ having that good half against Millwall. Because if he doesn't play, I think it would probably ruin him.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Kenny. I would play Robson 100%.
Yeah. Although it will be Connolly.
I'm in complete agreement with...
I saw a lot of people thought Connolly had a good game, which is interesting. I wasn't too convinced, especially the flappy part. I think off the ball he was very good, but he always is. So
and up front, it's got to be Yates and Medine, seeing as it's Yates' final game.
Oh, shut up.
But just going back to Connolly, at what point does you mean you had a good game because we won 1-0? He put us into danger 2 or 3 times by scuffed clearances and a pass across the box in the second half, which nearly resulted in another goal as well. He worked hard, but Dougal needs a partner very quickly because we're lucky in the position we're in. Because we're in a dogfight at the moment, I'd be really worried.
But I think if you'd have played, say you had a midfield 3 and you had Kenny, Connolly and Robson, I think that'd be fine. It's just that I think the minute that Connolly has to do both elements of the game consistently, box to box almost, I think he struggles and he kind of panics a little bit sometimes, and it's a confidence thing. And I just think it's unfair for him to consistently be put in that position personally.
I feel sorry for him because, like you say, it's not his natural position. He's a centre back.
I also like him. I was really excited when we signed him as a centre back. This is where also it's frustrating me that we haven't acted upon Brannigan's, or had a second arm in the fire. Because
I also think Dougal hasn't been great either. He's been okay. But then that's the thing. It's like, what is it? What is it that's causing that? Because he's not got that. If he has that consistent partner, but then I think that if you had, when Stewart was in there and he had like a partner like that, he could still put in good performances and things like that. So I don't know. It's a real hard one at the moment. To be honest, we're on a hard into nothing in central midfield until we get another body in. Really.
No, we definitely need 2 players in there. But I think Kenny's been fine. But for me, it's a level above, obviously, which we're not going to get the same Kenny we got controlling games in League One. But if he had a Brannigan or someone in there, the 2 would look brilliant.
Yeah.
Arguably, obviously, Wintle and Stewart is a better partnership, but as Afa said earlier about being an uncle or an auntie, whatever he said, it's just not going to happen anytime soon. So, we'll move on. The front two, I really miss Yates, but I also love Lavery, and I think Medine had a really poor game personally against Millwall. Obviously, other than the skill, it wasn't as effective.
Mitch
sorry,
isn't
John.
gonna like that.
Sorry, Mitch. Who are we starting up front?
I think Medine's one of the first names on the team sheet now, which is just ridiculous. But I think in the past 6-7 games, I think he's really stepped up. I think we kind of play. He plays more around the unit than the other way around. I think we went a little bit one-dimensional earlier in the season, whereas now there's a purpose to Medine. There's a purpose to him technically on the ball, and that was important, I think, because he's not just a target man that you can look the ball up to, because I think that's just, it doesn't work. I don't think that works long term. Whereas now you can see him constantly shifting the ball out wide. He's going to be massive to do that against Fulham. He's someone there that's going to keep the ball up the pitch when we need to a bit of respite from the pressure that we're going to have, and being able to feed that ball quickly into the channels like he has been doing recently will be massive against Fulham. So he'll be really important. And I think Lavery has to start because he had a really good game against Millwall, and confidence again. Once someone's scoring goals, you keep them in the team until they're not.
I was so happy he scored. Obviously, the finish for me is outstanding as well. Like, people think it's an open goal, but with 3 players in front of him, with 2 being on the line, to find that bottom corner is utterly class. And as much as I love Yates, if you start Medine, I think they're forging somewhat of a partnership, and you're not going to take out a person who's just scored the winner, are you? So you're in agreement with that, Joe?
Begrudgingly, yes.
I genuinely, and I mean this not because of last season or whatever, I genuinely miss Yates starting a match. I know he did against Huddersfield, and what a finish. I think it's a natural finisher, and he adds something to the game, which is both hold-up play and skill. So I don't know if they work in a tight front three, potentially, with Medine sort of central to those two, but kind of a scary thought, really, isn't it? That, but I don't know.
I think it naturally, like, come the next, because obviously I think at the moment we've got quite a nice fixture list. It's Saturday, and you can consistently keep a unit together, and I just think it's important while you're still winning games to keep that going. Whereas obviously once you go into the latter months and we're going midweek Saturday, it's naturally going to rotate anyway throughout the season. So everyone's going to have their chance at a run of games come the end of the season.
Yeah. Right. I think that finishes the lineup. I think we'll see, as always, a couple of changes to that. The back four kind of picks itself for me, unless he's going to go straight with Thornley. I think we'll see a Dale or Kirk in there tomorrow. And who knows, probably a Beasley as well. So that is all we can do is guess that team. So any other interesting news, Sean, before we wrap up?
No. No. Just, I guess, are we going to discuss the Norburn thing quickly? I guess the fact that we're going in for a Norburn in midfield, do you think that'd be a good signing? I think it'd be a good signing, but I think it's out of what we tend to do in terms of our profile of player. So it's an interesting one.
I think we're screwed, really. As you said, we've thrown all our cards with Brannigan. Oxford have had our pants down. We haven't got Fuchs or Fuchs, whatever his name is, and Peterborough now have him, which leaves us Fuchsed. But I think we were linked with him last season, wasn't he? And as a character Critchley likes, he's an upgrade on Conley in centre midfield, so it wouldn't be the worst signing in the world. I wouldn't want to throw a lot of money at him, but he's definitely one of the more mature players who knows how to play in that position. So for me, it's a very good signing. I'm just disappointed we're in a position where this is all last minute and Peterborough can basically just fob us off if they want to. Yeah,
probably it's the same, and it is what it is. I think we will bring someone in, but we'll end up getting the better player than anyone we've been linked with. You watch.
If Brannigan comes out of a cupboard opposed to a box, that would do it for me, I suppose.
Could you imagine though? Could you imagine the meltdown on deadline day if Brannigan signs? I would live for that for months.
I just want to see someone dressed up as James Corden with a pair of binoculars looking over to Brannigan. That would be the way I'd reveal it. But we'll wrap up with our usual score predictions. We've had Phil in the chat saying Fulham 3-1, Mark 2-1 Blackpool. There isn't much more in terms of another 3-1 to Fulham. Rich has gone with a 2-0 Seasiders. Steve, 2-1 away win tomorrow. Joe, your usual positive self, what are you going to go with tomorrow?
To be fair, I've been pretty positive. I was the one that come on here quite bullish, saying if Reading can go there and win, why can't we? It's 11 v 11. Yeah. To be honest, I think that Fulham do owe us because, if it wasn't for Keogh letting Mitrovic out of his back pocket at the end of the game at Bloomfield Road, they wouldn't have gone on to score all them goals. So I think Fulham really owe us a favour in that respect. I'm going to go with a really tight, cagey affair and say Fulham 4, Blackpool 4.
I would honestly, I'd just stick my laptop in the bin at halftime if that even came close to that score.
I'd like it. That'd be quite good. Sean, your prediction tomorrow, mate?
4-0.
Yeah, I was going to say, can we do the 4-0 behind bit, though? Last minute equaliser, if it's 4-4. I think, whether I think this or not, I'm saying 2-1 Blackpool. I don't think, I'm not even going to, I'm not going to say it because it'll happen then. I was going to say we'll get battered, but, we're not going to concede loads of goals is what I was going to say, and then we'll concede loads of goals. So, 2-1. We'll be clinical on the break, and it'll be Richard Keogh, fist in the air at full time, running down to the opposite end of the field to the 2,000 away fans, and it will be probably the best away day of the season, apart from Deepdale, of course.
I will wrap up by saying it's going to be a hard-fought 2-2 with a game we potentially should win, but I'll go for 2-2, and more specifically, we are finally going to score a corner. It won't be pretty, but it's going to go in on the corner. There we go. We'll see how the Seasiders fare tomorrow, but for now, that's a good night from us. Please like and subscribe this video, help the channel grow, and of course, please sign up to the Seasiders podcast Patreons group, which is in the link on social media. It'd be great to help us keep the channel growing and keep the podcast the way it is. But from us at the Seasiders podcast, it's a good night.